Welcome to our session on social media. It's been said, nothing vast enters the life of mere mortals without bringing with it a curse. And the curse around social media is that it takes time, a lot of time. When we think of our real estate practice and we think of selling houses, it's really important to make local connections. Those are the people you're going to list properties for and sell them for. Traditionally, we might stop in our local pub on a Friday night and have a martini or a cold pint, and we get to meet some of the locals. We get to connect with them. And, after a few weeks, you keep meeting the same folks over and over again. The conversation turns naturally towards what is it you do for a living, and real estate comes up. And over time, those relationships start to be our next clients. I use the pub as an example, but it could be maybe you're an avid golfer and you belong to a golf league on Wednesday nights, or maybe you play a little bit of slow pitch or softball. And again, it's connecting with people in your community. These are your neighbors. So when we make those connections offline, it takes time for people to trust us, understand who we are, and in the process, eventually we end up selling them houses and they become our customers, our clients, and our neighbors. Well, social media is a great opportunity to do the same thing, but do it digitally. The real challenge here is the commitment. And when we think of commitment in social media, the first thing that comes up is, well, is it expensive? And you can spend money on your social media without a doubt, but I think even more important than the financial commitment that's necessary is the time commitment. You see, if you're going to do social media, you got to learn to do it properly. You got to learn to do it well. And when I talk about time, it's just not curating content, and I'm going to talk to you about that. It's also learning how these platforms work and how to make them function effectively. So there's a curve here from a learning perspective. You've got to invest time. Then you've got to create content that locally people would be really attracted to. And they've got to see that content on a regular basis. So what happens over time, digitally, they start to develop a relationship with us and your stock value goes up. So it's not going to happen overnight. So if you're looking for that magic pill, this isn't it. It's going to take an investment. Do I still think you need to be doing offline marketing? I do. When I say offline, I mean the traditional stuff. Do you need to knock on doors? I think so. Do I think you need to continue to call for sale by owners? I believe so. Do I think you need to call expireds, follow up after your open houses, do your just listed cards, and I can go on and on and on. Social media is not going to replace that. It's going to be an addition to, not a replacement of. I mean, we're all looking to do more business. That's without a doubt. And this is an avenue to make that happen, but you have to be prepared for the investment and the time. The challenge is really about learning how to do it and being authentic. I have a friend from Colorado who runs a very successful real estate company. And he's like a natural in front of the camera. I've always wanted to ask him if he's had media training, because we're out for dinner, he's got the camera out, he's shooting video, snapping pictures and posting to his favorite social media platforms. In the process, people follow, they're interested, they want to see where he's going, what he's doing, who he's talking to. And that's kind of the essence behind social media. It gives us that opportunity to connect with people that maybe we don't get to see or talk to all the time. That's the value there. Now, he's good at it and he's comfortable with it and he likes it and he enjoys it. So it seems easy. Now, if you're not digitally inclined and you're not comfortable in front of a camera, then this is going to feel like a burden and it's going to be a lot of work, not just to learn how it works, but to get comfortable with taking out your camera and start taking selfies or interviewing people at a local business, helping them with their business and posting stuff on your social media site that would help them. And of course, we're looking for the quid pro quo with them in terms of we're helping their business. We'd like to think they would do the same. And I'm going to get into all of this with you as we go through this session. But it's really about learning how to use it, first of all, which takes time. And then making the commitment on a daily basis to do something on your sites to keep them active. And not just doing something really cool so that people will start to really follow you and are interested in what you have to say and your opinion on stuff. So social networking is really about a two-way street. And again, I want to make the point, it's a long-term strategy to developing relationships with what might be potential prospects in the future. Now, one of our coaching students from California, he's in his late 50s, called. And he said, Chris, I'm really looking this year at investing a lot more money in social media. And I said, well, that sounds like a good idea. He said, I was talking to my wife, who's not in real estate, by the way, and she thinks I should give up all the other traditional stuff. Like, forget the door knocking, she said. And who likes cold calling? Forget about doing open houses. There's more fun things we can do on a Saturday. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said to me, well, I'm going to go into social media in a big way. And I said to him, well, first of all, social media is a long-term strategy to finding new opportunities. We have short-term obligations we have to meet. Like we have to pay the utilities. We got to pay for the car payment this month and the mortgage. If it takes 9 months or a year to really get your social media business off the ground, can you afford to be out of business for a year? I don't think so. What do I think you need to do? I think you need to do everything that you've always done and carve a little time out every day to teach yourself how to use this stuff really effectively. It's not going to happen overnight. Do I think you need to be there? Yes. And I think your online strategy needs to be a combination. If you could have the perfect online strategy, it needs to be a combination of a really great local website. I think that's important. I think that at a certain point you could probably afford to investigate online lead generation and buying online leads through some sort of maybe Google AdWords to a capture form. And then social media as well. Those three coming together digitally are going to make assuming they're done really well, are going to make for a really great digital strategy. At the same time, do I think you still need to be knocking on doors? I do. Do I think you need to be making cold calls? I do. I don't think that's ever going to change. As salespeople, that will always be a way that we go out and find business. Remember, short-term obligations, long-term investment. Let's make sure that we do a bit of both, and over time, we build the business we're looking for. Now, you want to engage your audiences with local information. National housing stats are of no interest to anyone except maybe a statistician. What people really want to know about, it's what's happening at a local level. That's what's important to them. So I want you to share your opinion on what's happening locally in your municipality, on your social media site. People are going to be interested to hear what you have to say. And if we come across really good articles that we think that the people who follow us would enjoy, then you repost them. But you need to put some of your own spin or comments on it so they kind of get a sense of what you think is important. Most of all of this is about people looking at you in your neighborhood as the real estate professional who knows what they're talking about, and I trust them. So when I think about selling, and it might not be today, might be tomorrow, might be later this year, I would definitely reach out and have a conversation with them because I love the stuff they're writing about. I would go on to say that it's more than selling houses when you look at social media. And in fact, when we look at a traditional model, I'm going to say to you, it's more than selling houses. I can't begin to tell you the number of young families I had out showing real estate. And were they interested in the number of bedrooms? You bet they were. How many bathrooms? Did it have a 2-car garage? Was the backyard fenced? All of those are the needs list for the house. But they're also interested in the community. One of the questions I would always get from young families is, are there other children in the neighborhood? I want kids for my kids to play with. What's the school district like? PTA, recreational facilities, walkability factor. So community has a big part of the decision of where somebody lives. And if I'm going to buy a house somewhere, and these are the attributes I'm looking for, are you the agent that is the best at those things so that I know that you know what I want to know? So I'm going to call you and talk to you about it. Let me give you another example of how important community is. The last house I bought and sold was a secondary recreational property. And honestly, my wife and I discovered it by accident. It was in the state of Florida. We were headed up Interstate 95 North, and we were going to see a past student of mine who lived in a town called Delray Beach. I'd never heard of Delray Beach. But when we took the off-ramp off Interstate 95 and we drove down, the first night, it was a Friday night, the first night we drove down the main street of Delray Beach, I turned to my wife halfway down the main street, and I said to her, we're going to buy a house in this town. We hadn't seen a house. I didn't know what they were worth, but I can tell you this, the downtown rocked. When I say rocked, it was amazing. It was probably, I'm going to guess, 10, 15 blocks long, but it was full of nothing but restaurants and art galleries and cool boutiques, jazz clubs, and live music everywhere. The streets were packed. It was like a festival every weekend in this town. We drove down the main street, and it took us a year after that first experience, but we bought a place there. Now, did we buy a house? Yes. We actually bought a townhouse. Did the townhouse have everything we needed? Yes. Did it have everything we wanted? No. But what did it have? It was a half a block from that main street. So that literally when I was done work on Friday, my wife and I could leisurely, walkability factor, down to a really cool downtown, have a couple of drinks, go out for a nice meal, maybe look at some art when we were down there. And the other thing about the town, which was really neat, was all the festivals. It was like almost every second weekend they had a festival. They had the lighting of the Christmas tree festival, and they had, Christmas in the park, and then they had Easter, and then they had St. Paddy's Day, the St. Paddy's Day parade. Oh my God, you should have seen the downtown. It's unbelievable. And I could go on and on and on. Every second weekend, they seemed to have some sort of festival where they were closing the main street. They had a wine and cheese festival. They had a beer festival. They had a music festival. They had a fashion show. I mean, there was always something going on. I loved it. This was amazing. So, did I buy the townhouse? Yes. But what did I really buy? The community. So if you're going to do social media and you're going to be at a local level and you want to sell people on stuff, then get involved in the community. And remember, it's more than a house. It's where the neighborhood we live in. So there's so much you can do with this that would be really cool. Now think about it this way. What if somebody was a real estate agent in Delray Beach and they had a list of all the festivals and they made a point of attending them, and they actually took video and shot photos, and they talked to some of the merchants, and they went to the farmers market and talked to some of the local farmers. They went into the clothing stores and the restaurants and they did video, and they had a list of everything that was coming up. After a while, the social media site, and yes, you're going to have real estate in there. Of course, we're going to have real estate in. But the social media site becomes the kind of the go-to spot to find out what's going on. I mean, they had a really great place called the Art Garage that did all live music almost every night of the week. To be able to check to see what was playing and to know that I could go to my local realtor social media site to get all the inside track on what's going on. And the festivals I didn't get to, I could still go back and enjoy all the photos and the videos and stuff. So there's so much you can do. And when you showcase your community beyond the house, people get a sense that you're truly part of the community, the fabric of the community. And that if I was going to sell my house in that community, I'd want to go to that person because that person knows everything about that particular town. So that's really kind of where we're going with that. Now, on top of it, I would recommend that you share aspirational lifestyle photos and information. And what does that really mean? It means like really cool kitchens or really cool bathrooms. There are people who love to cook, and they would love to look at great kitchens to see how other people have set up that home kitchen where they love to do all their cooking and stuff. So that's really neat. Other people are, they're interested in to see how somebody has decorated their ensuite. Did they use a teacup tub or a double back clawfoot? Do they have subway tiles? It's all of those things that people are really interested in. They're interested in great backyards, stay vacation backyards with pools and hot tubs and outdoor kitchens, and all of that stuff's amazing. I don't know about you, but I love to look at real estate. I can get caught up in that. Next thing you know, I'm looking at houses and kitchens and bathrooms and backyards. And so if you weave some, this isn't all we do, we weave some of that in to keep it interesting, keep it vibrant. Keep me coming back to see what you're posting next. Keep it local and keep it interesting. And now you've got my attention. Add some real estate into that. And now this is the perfect place for me to visit on a regular basis. You want to comment and share on other people's posts. So you want to follow other local businesses. I mean, we want to expand our footprint. We want other businesses to follow us. We want to follow them. So it's a quid pro quo. I follow you, you should follow me. And when another business posts some information for you, or posts some information on their social media platform, then I want you to put comments on there. And if we comment on theirs, I'd like to think that over time, they would start to comment on ours. It's a two-way street. Now, my suggestion is you got to be careful with your social media because it can be a rabbit hole that you fall into, and next thing you know, you're spending hours and hours and hours. Remember, this is a long-term strategy. It's a slow build, social media. It's probably, if you started a social media platform today, you're not going to get a sale of it because of it this week. It's going to take some time. Now, how do you do things digitally that contribute to your now business? So I'm going to weave a little bit of social media in here with some other strategies. You've heard me talk about the morning high five. It was taught to me by a salesperson out of the Ohio Valley by the name of Sean Carpenter. He's a great guy, really, really good. Follow him on his social media sites because I'm going to tell you he's got some great tips. But setting that aside, Sean taught me what he called his morning high five. Now, Sean's office was across from a Starbucks, and Sean will tell you he likes his morning cup of coffee. Now, he sees his morning cup of coffee as a treat for doing something. It's a reward. So what does he do? He gets up early before everybody else. He goes into the office before everybody else, and he does his high five. Now, let me tell you what his high five is. He does 5 handwritten notes, sends them in the mail, snail mail with a stamp. Then he goes to his CRM system, his InTouch system, and he pulls down 5 people from his CRM system and he sends an email saying, hey, I was thinking about you today. Hope you're well, that sort of thing, personal. Then he will do 5 text messages to 5 different people. Then he will do 5 slide dials. Now, if you don't know what a slide dial is, it means that he's got a technology that allows him to ring people's phones without actually ringing them. He can actually take a message, it goes directly to voicemail, it doesn't ring, and he can deposit the message in their voicemail. So you can do that at 7 o'clock in the morning because you're not ringing somebody's phone. And the last thing he does is he posts to his social media sites, and then he goes in and makes a comment on 4 or 5 other people's sites. Now, he does 25 touch points every day. He does it before the rest of the people come into the office. And as everybody's coming in, he's headed across the street to get his Starbucks because he has earned his morning reward. I love it. So again, he's using his social media. Now, you understand, here's the takeaway. He's not spending hours and hours. He's not spending 3/4 of his day on social media. It's 5 or 10 minutes in the morning because he's got everything organized. And he knows that if he goes in and makes those contributions daily, that's going to keep that site active, keep it interesting, and allows him from a social media perspective to connect with other people.